Hi there. Let me ask you a question. Are you a new teacher who's just been assigned a science class, and maybe you're a generalist and you don't know the first thing about teaching science? Well, I think I can help you, so try not to worry. Perhaps you're an experienced teacher who's a generalist. Maybe you've had an ELA class or social studies or mathematics class, and just came out of a meeting with the principal, and the principal said, "Hey, I have an ineffective teacher that I hired over here, and I need you to go over and take over her class for the rest of the year, and science fairs in 3 weeks." That's happened. It's pretty common nowadays. You may not know how to teach science. You may know how to teach. You may have been very successful in your subject, but a lot of times administrators think that we're like pawns or like Legos. You can just recombine us and put us together, and you have to be successful. Well, you're going to have to teach yourself a lot of science really fast. But this video series, How to Teach Middle School Science, ought to help you. So let's get started. The first TEK I want to talk about, and I am talking about TEKS's educational standards. TEKS is Essential Knowledge and Skills, the TEKS. It's 6.4a. It's use appropriate tools to collect, record, analyze information, including journals, notebooks, beakers, petri dishes, meter sticks, and it goes on to list a bunch of different pieces of equipment. In Texas, the notebook, the science notebook or journal, is just as important as any other piece of equipment. So that's why I wanted to start with that. Notebooking in science is a little bit different from notebooking in other subjects. And if you do it right, it can be an invaluable tool. You don't want to spend all your time trying to make it the prettiest thing that ever existed. Some kids are going to do that anyway, no matter what you do. But don't waste your time on that. Don't run your copy count up making a bunch of copies for them to glue in. It means nothing to them. If they just glue in a paper, it's just cutting and pasting and playtime for them. You want them to generate as much information as they can. If you have a table that you're doing on your notebook, make them make the table. If they're doing a graph, give them some graph paper, but make them do the graph. If you just hand them copies and have them glue it in, it may save you time, but they're not really going to be invested in their notebook. This is what I've found out over time. So when people start saying, well, what about supplies for next year? What do you need? Well, you should tell your principal or whoever's doing the supply list that you need at least one composition notebook per student. 2 would be better because some kids go through 2. I have usually not gone past 1 notebook in a year, and it's going to be kind of messy, and you want it to be messy because that means it's being useful. It should be a hardback so that you can take it in, use it for labs, and walk around with it in your hand. You should be able to go outside, and everything should be glued in so well that papers don't go flying when you go outside. That's real important. So what you do is you give them the notebook where they have their own, and what I usually do is I'll get some duct tape and color code by class what color is going to go in each notebook. It makes them feel like they're part of something, which is really important. And then I just use like textbook boxes or, those consumable lab manuals that nobody ever uses. You always have boxes and boxes of them. Those boxes are perfect for storing 25, 30 of these notebooks. So you can have your notebooks in a box by class. Some people put them in a drawer, but they just get all torn up in a drawer. They're better off in a box. You can use a milk carton or some kind of plastic crate, but those are expensive. And if you want to save money, you want to just use a box that you've already got. So you put some sort of tape on it so that you know at a glance, okay, that notebook is in the correct box for the correct period. And the kids don't waste time coming in, flapping around. Well, where's my notebook? I don't know where it is. You want to have one place for your textbooks and lab books and one place for your notebooks. It's just easier. What I do is I have the kids put their name, my name, and the period number on the front. If they change classes for whatever reason, you can use whiteout or something and just change what class period they're in. If you have to change teachers, if you work departmentally, you ought to have the same stuff in your notebook anyway, so it should be cool. On the very first page, once you open up the notebook, I have the kids do an all about me page, sort of a Facebook wall, where they list their interests. Are they in band? Are they in opera or drama or choir or whatever the thing is? Soccer. They play football. What awards have they received? Do they have pictures of a baby brother or sister, or maybe their favorite pet, or a thumbnail of a CD, or whatever they call them nowadays? Albums, I guess, of music. Who's their favorite artist? Who's their favorite band? Do they like a particular kind of music? Whatever they like. They can print things out. They can make copies. You wouldn't want to put an original picture in there because if it were to get lost or damaged, that would be sad. But they can decorate the page however they want. I would do like a circle map where you have or like a bubble where you have a circle in the middle with their name, or they could do a square or some other shape. And then they have spokes going out with their interests on little circles. There's a lot of ways to do it. I like bubble maps, really, for that. And they'll come up with interests you hadn't thought of. But they want to personalize it and tell them that they're going to be adding to this. It's not going to be a complete thing. I would also have them, as part of like a lab practicum, have them measure their height, maybe the circumference of their wrist in centimeters, have them use SI units. I wouldn't do weight because that can be embarrassing, but height, length of arm would be good. There are a lot of things you can have them record, and then at the end of the year, refer back to that before they take their notebook home, because they should take their notebook home at the end of the year. Refer back and see how much they've grown. And it will be surprising to some of them how much they've grown. Or even mid-year, you can, when you're doing plate tectonics and you teach them how slowly continents move, well, you can say, well, look at let's do a height check, and, well, you've grown 2 inches. Well, did you see it? No, because it's very, very slow. But anyway, so once you've got your All About Me page, then in the first few pages of the notebook, I would set out about 10 pages, and I call them little a, little b, and I always start on the left-hand side. So little a, little b, little c, little d, and so forth. And I go up to about J or K, and these are your resource pages. Here's where you're going to put formula charts, maybe your syllabus, which you should have a syllabus which has the dates of tests and things. Whatever information you have, contact information for you, have the parents sign it, glue it in, and keep it there. You should have a safety contract you might want to do in English and in Spanish, depending on what languages are common in your district. And you glue them in, and you have to teach them terms like flapper. So let's say you've got a flapper. That means you're taking it like you've got a Post-it note and put the glue on just one side, and that way you can use front and back, and you can write underneath. You get the most use of your paper doing this. You don't want to spend a lot of time just gluing things flat down, because you can't use that for anything else. So teach them terms like landscape and portrait. I can figure out spatial relationships there. Flat down means glue it flat. Flapper means you can look underneath it. You can use Post-its for a lot. If people ask you what you want for school supplies, tell them you want Post-it notes. And you can make a bunch of organizers that have information on either side, maybe a title, maybe some facts underneath. Anything that the kids can fiddle with, they get more involved in their learning when they're making things like that. But don't make yourself crazy with foldables, because foldables take forever, and some kids just like to cut and paste. I don't know what's up with that. Okay, so let's say you've got your resource pages done, you've got your syllabus signed and glued in, you've got your safety contract signed and glued in, you might have your formula chart where you're not going to do all the formulas for the year, but just as like if in 6th grade, if you're teaching speed formula, you would have them write the speed formula with the explanation of the variables. And then when you get to some different formulas, you can add to it, maybe a whole page of formulas. And then maybe another page how to divide fractions or whatever it is, multiply, whatever, decimals, whatever little things that you need for your class. That's why you're not going to fill these resource pages up at the start of the year. Now, speaking of which, you're going to need at least 2 days to set your notebooks up. This is a TEK. You are required to have a notebook. You should grade it, and there's some different ways to do. I'll talk about that in a minute. But your administrators like to say, well, why aren't you in your content yet? Get in your content. Why aren't you in your content? Well, you're going to have to be strong. Going to be strong. Say, I am setting up my notebook for the rest of the year, and I need this time. And don't let them push you around. I mean it. I'm serious. Needless 2 days. Okay, so once you've got the resource pages set up, then you can do your table of contents, which I maybe use 2 facing pages. And you take a piece of paper and you fold it in half to the center. Now, you may not be the kind of person that likes writing on the back. I am tree hugger, and I like to save paper as much as I can. So I have kids write on front and back. And you're going to have some pushback from some children, but that's just too bad. Okay, so you're going to have a table of contents, and you're going to start on the upper left-hand corner, and you're going to put a 1 right next to the margin. Then you're going to come to the fold on that same line and put a 2. And the next line down 3, and at the fold on that same line 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Got me? So you will have all odd numbers here, and then from your fold on, you can have even numbers. This will be important later. Odd numbers will be information that the kids put out, their output. Even number pages will be input. These will be things that you give the children, information, notes, maybe lab data will go on corresponding pages. And you can do 2 pages. Have the kids go ahead and set that up and number the pages. Then have them come to the very next page, and on the left-hand side, put a 1. And then the facing right-hand page, 2, 3, 4. So odd pages are going to be on the left and even on the right. Whenever you do anything, you're going to have 2 facing pages. Anything you do will be on 2 facing pages. Understand? You're going to have to sit on them because kids don't want to do this way. But they're going to number every page in their notebook all the way to the end. Why? Because if you have all your pages numbered, they're less likely to tear a page out and write a note to a friend. You're not going to see scribbles all over, because then they know when you get to page 37, if they don't have page 37, then they're going to have to glue in another page. It's going to be a big mess. So have them numbered all the way to the end. Now, when I mentioned you're going to grade it, what you can do is just type up, this is the time you're going to type something up, type up piece of copier paper where you've got a checklist of assignments that you've got and the points assigned to them. Let's say you had 5 assignments and each one's worth 20 points, so that's 100. So they have all 5 assignments. You just put a check next to it and they get 100 in their grade book. And you just take this paper and you have them glue it in wherever you end the work to do grading, and you go through and you check and you do the grading right then. Don't do it after school because it's going to take you forever. I've been there. But you can put on a video, or you can have them work on something else where they don't need their notebook, and you can just quickly go around the room and check notebooks. And what I do is I just put a check in the grade book unless they don't have everything, and then I put the grade. So if they made a 70, I will write the 70 down. Anyway, you just copy this. You can get maybe 10 of these on a page, cut them out, and each kid gets one. They glue it in, and you note what it is that they have and what they don't have. They have to get that turned in, or that grade will stand. Oh, they'll shriek about it. They don't like this, but if you don't grade it, they won't do it. So save yourself time and headache later. If you get in the habit of grading it early and every 3 weeks or so, the kids will do the work. If you don't ever grade it, they'll act like they're working and they're not. And you can't check everybody's work every single day. Now, you can go around as they're working and check, okay, did you do the elements I asked you to do? Okay, so you've got your table of contents, you've numbered all your pages, and you've got your All About Me page done. You may need to send the notebook home for children to finish the numbering, or they can do it if you have, most schools have a study hall. Just have them do it during study hall. Your work is important too. ELA and math tend to try to take over and say, well, our work is more important than yours because in 6th grade we're testing. Well, you know what? We're going to be testing in 8th, and our work is important too. So you need to stand up for your subject. But insist that they number the pages. Insist that they number all of their table of contents. You would also need to build in a few minutes, like on the last day of the week, like on Fridays or the first day of the week, where the kids have 5 minutes to update their table of contents, to finish up little bits and pieces of stuff before you go on to the next thing. If you don't do that, people are going to fall behind and get frustrated. So build in a little bit of time. Or if you have the child that finishes early, say, go back through. Did you finish writing all the things you're supposed to write? And they'll give them something to do. All right? So when you do your notebooking, my next video will be about interactive notebooking, actually how to make it work. But you get this much done in 2 days' time, and you'll be in good shape. Thank you very good. We can't talk.